We all have bad days. Duh. There's not a day that, goes by that we probably don't face some kind of hard issue or trial of some kind. Sometimes we respond negatively to a negative trial. Sometimes we respond with a lack of faith. Sometimes we respond impatiently, and maybe we take it out on those around us. We are not exempt, even as Christians, from hardship, because we know in Scripture that it produces character. But it's how we choose to respond to what we perceive as negative. Things are not going to always go in the way that we want. Maybe there's issues that build up one on top of the other. Hardship. Man, I've had plenty of times in the past where I had a bill due. And being that I wasn't paid much, I was like trying to figure how to get it paid. And it just seemed like one issue was on top of the other, where you have a couple of bills due at the same time. And you're trying to think, man, how am I going to get this paid? And then, maybe family issues come up and it makes it even heavier. But, it's how do we take hardship? I know if we have control over the situation and we don't give it into God's hands, then we are attacking it by our strength, and then we're dealing with a lack of patience, we're dealing with, anger and such, and when our focus is on what we perceive as negative, then our response is going to be negative to the situation around us. So, I've had my share of that in the past, where it was like one negative after another. And, I didn't look to God. I didn't seek Him through that time. I was trying to take control over the situation. This is not, the topic of God being the provider, even though I will mention that if we know what God can do, then that can change things. But if we don't know what God can do, then we are in control over the situation. We're thinking about how best to take care of it. So, I've heard many times in church that when you're going through hardship, pray. Thank God. Thank God for it. And I had done that in the past. Regardless of how hard things were, I tried to take a step back and thank God. Because, if we were to have things easy without trial, then we would never become strong. Not only in faith, but, in building character and being patient. I mean, what ways without hardship and trial can we grow? How can you grow personally as a Christian? So, what is our response to the hardship? Are we going to thank God, or are we just going to take one hardship after another, refusing to see any blessing that is around us? I remember an old hymn, that I used to have a hymn book from the Baptist church that I went to, and I used to play it on my piano. And one hymn was "Count Your Blessings, Name Them One by One." Why do that? Well, the person, I believe, that was the author of that hymn understood that when you focus on what God can do, then it's not going to be on the negative. It's going to be on what God can do. And so your response emotionally will not be negative, it will be positive. So, how is it like so many Christians, when hardship hits, they can't see the positive? All they do is see the negative. And, it's kind of irritating, because if they look at the positive, then their response will be different. And believe me, we've all faced hardship and trial. But there are a lot of people out there that can't see the positive. Have they even attempted to look? Have they attempted to look at the blessing around them? They're complaining about the hardship that they're facing, and they want this to happen, they want that to happen, they receive all these gifts, but they're unaware of the times and hardship when they received those gifts from God and haven't thanked Him. Thanksgiving is of absolute importance in our Christian walk, because it helps us to see God's goodness. So what are we going to do next time we face a hardship? Are we going to thank God? Are we going to count His blessings? Are we going to remember all the times that He has come through, so our eyes will look upward instead of at the circumstances themselves? So, I just wanted to share that with you. Next time we're facing hardship, let's look at the positive and not the negative of it. So, I'm going to end it here. Thanks for taking the time to watch.